When I was a little boy, round about this age, my dad showed me how to play a harmonic on the guitar for the first time, and since that moment I have loved these beautiful ethereal textures. Since then I have experienced, explored, and in some cases appropriated different approaches to using harmonics on the acoustic guitar, and I'm going to share some of those with you now. In this video I'm going to be using my Costal Modified Dreadnought. You may have seen this guitar in other videos I've made. It's over 10 years old now, and I love it just as much today as I did the first time I played it. One of the reasons I chose this guitar for this video is that it's a 14 fret instrument, and I suspect that the majority of you out there are playing 14 fretters too, but do let me know in the comments. As usual, I'm tuned to DADGAD, but these concepts will work in standard tuning or any other tuning that you happen to be exploring. You may have heard people say that music is mathematics, and harmonics are a beautiful example of this reality. Don't worry if maths is not your strong point, we're going to go very gently. The first harmonic that most players encounter is found exactly halfway along the string at the 12th fret. By effectively cutting the string in half at the 12th fret, we create a sound that is exactly an octave above the open note, like this. In terms of technique, hitting a harmonic cleanly is something that when you've done it once you never really forget how, but it can be a little frustrating if you're new to the concept. You're not fretting the note like this. Instead you are gently touching the string directly over the fret wire itself and removing that finger at the same time as you pluck. For best results, do make sure that you play directly over the fret. The closer your picking hand is to the bridge of your guitar, the better your chances are of making a nice, fat, clean harmonic. There we go. You can overcook this a little bit if you get too close to the bridge. It's a bit too metallic for my tastes, but explore your own instrument. I'm sure you'll find something that works for you. Dividing the string into thirds gives us a harmonic that is a perfect fifth above the open note. You'll find it here on the 7th fret. Now, without getting too A = 432 Hertz about things, it's worth noting that the perfect fifth is widely regarded as the most powerful interval in Western harmony, and it's a sacred interval in the music of other cultures. You will have heard it a million times before, perhaps without even realizing it, and in fact, the opening notes of my album Vetiver are a perfect fifth interval. Now, by dividing the string again, this time into quarters, we can find a harmonic on the 5th fret that is 2 octaves above the open note. And you can keep going along the string like this. Right, that's the basics out of the way. Now let's have some fun. You may have seen players like Tommy Emmanuel doing this sort of motion over the instrument while producing harmonics. These are sometimes known as artificial harmonics. They're not really that artificial at all, but they are a lot of fun. When exploring this approach, we use the same principles that I've already outlined. So I know that if I play an A on the 2nd fret 3rd string, I can find a harmonic 12 frets above. The mechanics of this can be a little tricky to start off with. Some players like to use the index finger to touch the string and then the thumb behind it to trigger the harmonic, like this. One of the joys of this, of course, is that it's kind of difficult to get line of sight when someone's doing this on stage. So the first time that you encounter it, it can be a real head. For harmonics over the treble strings, you might find it more ergonomic to use the index finger over the note itself and then trigger it with the third finger behind that. Try these out and see what works for you. I really enjoy this approach, especially on my track Between Streets. Some players like to use the thumb over the note and then trigger it with the index finger behind it like this. That's, I think, a Jaco Pastorius move originally. If you're not familiar with the exceptional bass playing of Jaco Pastorius, please do listen to Portrait of Tracy immediately. This is a very heroic and impactful approach to creating harmonics, especially within chords. As the name suggests, it involves slapping the strings right above the fret to create a wall of harmonics, like this. I tend to use this part of my middle finger, or sometimes 3 fingers together over the fret to create these sounds. And I like using slapped harmonics where appropriate in a sort of ostinato repeating theme. Here's an example. We're going from B minor to A major to G major. Once again, we're in Dad Cat. And that approach can be particularly effective if you dump a shitload of reverb on top, like this. And if you're into this kind of guitar playing, then you really should check out my podcast for Fretboard Journal. It's called Life on the Fretboard, and I did a recent interview with Will Ackerman himself, the guy who produced Michael Hedges' Aerial Boundaries, and he had a lot to say on that subject.
And I went upstairs, and there was Michael, playing a lot of the pieces that were on his first album, Breakfast in the Field. And as was true of so many people, I could not understand what the hell I was seeing.
And in fact, that monolithic Michael Hedges track, Aerial Boundaries, contains some of the finest examples of slapped harmonics you will ever hear. You may have seen me using Raked Harmonics on my track The Unfair Funfair, like this. This is a similar principle to what we've already seen, only in this case I'm using my index finger across the strings and raking behind it with my third finger, like this. This can be really effective, and I like exploring all over the sound hole to see what I can find. And on my track La Tolita, I use my index finger on its own and just brush the edge of it along the strings, which can be remarkably effective. Now, once you've created a harmonic, you can do all sorts of cool things with them. I like bending them, and for this, you're going to reach behind the nut of your guitar and then bend down on the string. In this case, I'm playing a harmonic on the 7th fret, 2nd string. Oh. This may hurt a little to start with, but I promise you, it's worth it. If you're bending strings while using a capo, do be careful, you may get some string stretch. I've found that the best capo in the world, bar none, is the Elliott Elite, and it works perfectly for me. Guitars with a volute on the back of the headstock may give you more leverage for this sort of thing. And you'll probably find that sadly slot-headed guitars don't have enough string behind the nut for you to play around with this effectively, but you can still get weird with the tuning keys. I have to admit, I'm still wondering how I'm going to approach behind the nut bends on my new Cassima guitar. Am I going to go in around the front or around the back? Time will tell. This is also great for double bends on the bass strings like this. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to how I use harmonics on the acoustic guitar. You can find tablature for most of the pieces I've mentioned on my website, and if I've earned your subscription with this video, well, I do hope you'll stick around. Leave a comment below and let me know how you found me. For everybody else, please do like, comment, share, and use the tip jar link below. I'll see you next time. Until then, stay tuned.
You